Right now, millions of people wake up every morning feeling like they are fighting a war against their own minds. Maybe you are one of them. You sit at a desk, staring at a screen or a whiteboard, and your leg is bouncing. Your mind is racing. You can't focus on the spreadsheet. You can't listen to the teacher. You feel restless, distracted, and completely out of place. You look around at your coworkers or classmates. They seem to sit perfectly still. They follow the routine. They don't look like they are suffocating. And society has a very specific message for you. You have a disorder. You are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or perhaps you are somewhere on the autism spectrum. Let's be very clear. The struggle is absolutely real. The anxiety, the burnout, the inability to function in a standard 9-to-5 job, these are serious challenges. But what if the root of the problem isn't just your brain? What if you are feeling broken because you are a highly specialized ancient machine forced to operate in a completely unnatural modern cage? What if you are carrying the most elite, highly evolved genetic code from human history, and you are simply suffering from an evolutionary mismatch? To understand this, we have to rewind the clock. We need to go back 10,000 years, long before schools, factories, and cubicles existed. Back to the wild. In the ancient world, humanity survived by hunting and gathering. And in a hunter-gatherer tribe, the traits that we now label as symptoms of a disorder were not a weakness. They were the ultimate survival mechanism. They were a superpower. This is known by anthropologists and psychologists as the hunter versus farmer hypothesis. Imagine a tribe of ancient humans tracking a massive predator through a dense, dangerous jungle. Who do you want leading the hunting party? Do you want a calm, compliant person who slowly focuses on a single leaf for an hour? No. You want a hunter. You want someone whose brain is constantly scanning the environment. You want someone who notices every single snapped twig, every sudden movement in the grass, every subtle shift in the wind. What modern society calls distractibility is actually hyper-vigilance. In the wild, if you aren't easily distracted by sudden changes in your environment, you get eaten. And what about the restlessness, the bouncing leg, the constant pacing, the inability to sit still? In a modern office, it's an annoyance to your boss. In the ancient world, it was endless physical energy. Hunters needed to track prey for 40 miles without stopping. They needed lightning-fast reflexes to strike or flee at a moment's notice. What about the tendency to stay up late and struggle to wake up early? Today, being a night owl makes you late for your 9 a.m. meeting, and society calls you lazy. But 10,000 years ago, the tribe desperately needed night watchmen. They needed people whose brains naturally became alert when the sun went down to guard the campfire and protect the sleeping tribe from nocturnal predators. Even the traits associated with the autism spectrum were incredibly valuable. Many evolutionary biologists suggest that the ability to hyper-focus on highly specific tasks, systemize complex patterns, and remember massive amounts of details, like tracking intricate weather cycles or spending hours perfecting a single flint arrowhead, were the exact traits that pushed early human technology forward. The rarest humans were the innovators, the protectors, and the apex predators. So, what happened? Why did the apex predator become the modern patient? The catastrophe began with the agricultural revolution. Humans stopped moving and started farming. Farming requires a completely different type of brain, the farmer brain. Farming is about routine. It is about waking up at dawn, doing the exact same repetitive task all day, planting seeds in straight rows, and waiting patiently for months. The farmer brain thrives on predictability, compliance, and sitting still. For thousands of years, the hunters and the farmers coexisted. But then came the ultimate death blow to the ancient mind, the Industrial Revolution. In the 19th century, the global economy fundamentally shifted. Corporations built massive factories. They didn't need hunters. They didn't need independent, energetic people scanning the horizon for new ideas. They needed millions of obedient, compliant workers who could stand at an assembly line, turn a wrench for 12 hours a day, and never question authority. But humans are not naturally born to be factory robots. So the industrialists had to build a system to train them. And they did. They invented the modern school system. Look at the structure of a traditional classroom. It is almost identical to an 1800s factory. You are summoned by a loud bell. You are forced to sit in perfectly straight rows. You must ask for permission to speak or even go to the bathroom. You are punished for moving around, and you are rewarded for sitting completely still and repeating exactly what you are told. The traditional school was not primarily designed to nurture individual brilliance. It was designed to mold children into compliant workers. And this is where the tragedy begins. The modern world is entirely built by and for the farmer brain. But the genetic code of the hunter didn't disappear. It is still here, inside millions of children and adults. When you take a child with an ancient hunter brain, a brain wired for exploration, rapid scanning, and physical movement, and you lock them inside a sterile concrete classroom for 8 hours a day, their brain naturally rebels. It panics. It looks for stimulation. The child fidgets, looks out the window, and interrupts the teacher. The system looks at this child and sees a defective factory worker. The tragedy isn't that ADHD or autism exist. The tragedy is that we have built an incredibly rigid, unforgiving society that demands every single brain operate in the exact same way. When a hunter brain fails to adapt to the farmer world, the friction causes massive psychological pain. This is why anxiety and depression are skyrocketing among neurodivergent people. They are constantly told they are failing at life, simply because they cannot sit in a cubicle for 9 hours a day. Medical treatments, therapy, and medications are absolutely vital tools that help people survive and function in this rigid modern matrix. But while we treat the individual, we completely ignore how toxic the environment is. Think about the greatest innovators in modern history. Many successful entrepreneurs, artists, and inventors have openly talked about having ADHD or being on the spectrum. Their brains didn't fit the mold, so they built their own molds. If their unique ways of thinking had been completely suppressed by the system, we wouldn't have their inventions. The very traits that traditional schools find so difficult to manage are often the exact same traits that drive human progress. We have built a society that worships compliance over brilliance. And if you dare to step out of rhythm, society makes you feel like an outcast. If you take a great white shark and lock it in a tiny glass fish tank, it will pace back and forth, hit its head against the glass, and act completely unstable. But the shark isn't broken. The tank is just wrong. You need to realize the truth about your own mind. Your inability to focus on a meaningless corporate spreadsheet does not mean you are a failure. It might just be your biology rejecting a cage. Your restlessness is the suppressed energy of an apex predator. Your distractibility is a survival radar looking for a purpose. You are not a broken cog in their machine. You are an ancient human living in a modern trap. The world desperately needs different types of minds to solve the complex problems of the future. We don't need more obedient factory workers. We need hunters. We need innovators. Stop judging yourself by the standards of a 100-year-old factory model. You don't need to force yourself to be a perfect farmer. You need to understand your nature, guard your mental health, and find an environment where your unique brain can actually thrive. You need to find your hunt.